Company of Heroes 3 released just over 2 years ago now, and it's fair to say that it's had a bit of a rough life. While I quite enjoyed it when I first reviewed it back on launch day, and actually ended up covering it quite a bit, public opinion on the game overall has been, well, not great, as the Steam reviews have continued to reflect. But wait, what's this? Recent reviews at 74% mostly positive? An 84% very positive DLC release in Fire and Steel? A massive 2.0 update with new maps, content, and features? A very slightly increasing player count, now topping series darling Company of Heroes 2? Plus everything surrounding Relic leaving the grip of Sega to go back out on their own, leaving all decisions to them and them alone? Alright then, I think it's time to revisit Company of Heroes 3 and see how it stacks up 2 years later. Before we get into feature updates, let's look at the visuals and audio in totality, since you're going to be staring at them for the duration of this video. And I don't know about you guys, but I think COH 3 looks and sounds much better than it did on launch. I uploaded a video before this one that compares a lot of things from launch versus today directly, so if you want to take a look for yourself, then there's a link in the description. But as you can see here in this abridged version, colours and contrast overall have much more pop, and vehicle explosions, which were a major complaint at launch, are substantially more punchy, and dare I say, at or beyond what we had in COH 2. I'm glad to say the options menu is more fleshed out as well, and you can probably tell that the UI is also much improved. Thank God they got rid of that awful font and made it much more series appropriate. Throughout the time leading up to the recently released 2.0 anniversary update that we'll talk about soon, Relic introduced many other updates to Company of Heroes 3. We had the first major update 1 month after launch with Sapphire Jackal, which was a minor update that failed to address players' primary complaints with the game, such as a lack of content and worse visuals and audio when compared to its predecessors. And honestly, it mostly stayed like that until the end of the year, where things started to build. Relic chipped away at the game with Brass Leopard, Emerald Bear, Umber Wasp, and Steel Shepherd, introducing a myriad of changes, fixes, and new content that was appreciated by the few players that were still around, considering it was all free. But ultimately, it didn't make much of a difference to the overall player count, and it was still struggling to pull existing players from Company of Heroes 2. COH 3 was still hovering around the 2,500 mark at the end of that year, though it wasn't decreasing, so I guess that's a good thing. Things took a turn for the better though at the start of December, with the release of Company of Heroes 3's first paid expansion, Hammer and Shield, which came alongside Update 1.4, a significant patch which included tons of additions and fixes to the game, whether you bought the DLC or not. But wait, hold on, the DLC's sitting at 35% mostly negative on Steam. What gives? Well, firstly it only included 2 new battle groups, and at $8.50 per battle group, that's pretty steep. Even though it did come with some cosmetics and a new campaign-only battle group, most people were long past that portion of the game, and I imagine they wouldn't be replaying it just to experience the campaign again with this new battle group. That made the total price of $17 US, almost a third of the cost of the entire game, a difficult pill to swallow. Plus, many people who had coughed up $80 US for the premium edition were not stoked that their promised expansion included in that purchase was simply 2 new battle groups, or that it would have been cheaper to simply buy the base version of the game and then this DLC separately on release. Not a great outcome, alienating the game's biggest supporters. However, despite all that, the additions that Update 1.4 brought to the table began to turn player sentiment around. Player counts started to increase, and Steam reviews were slowly but surely increasing COH 3's overall rating. And it really is difficult to overstate how big Update 1.4 was. Not only did it bring lines and lines of the expected bug fixes and balance changes, but it also added things like replays, which were a much requested feature, vast visual and audio improvements, a revamped menu and navigation experience, redesigned challenges, improved new player experience, campaign updates, and more. Seriously, this list is massive, just take a look at it. Relic took the W to heart it seems, and they continued the momentum with Update 1.5, Company of Heroes 3's 1 year anniversary, It brought even more new maps, reworks to existing battle groups, profile customization, and more. This trend continued all the way throughout 2024, with significant updates coming every 1 or 2 months, with some highlights including the announcement of Relic going independent alongside Update 1.6, a free weekend, a 50% off sale, and large community event in mid-May just before Update 1.7, which was itself another massive update, and then Orchard Spider in November came with the much requested Live Observer mode, new maps, a veterancy system rework, and some brand new abilities for select units. Which brings us now to Update 2.0, the 2-year anniversary update. And it sounds like I'm retreading ground here, but they just keep making improvements in basically every area. What can I say? Audio received a significant upgrade with improved ambient audio, changes to music in the menus and in-game, plus a bunch of re-recorded voice lines throughout the different battle groups. The game's flagship Italian campaign has been reworked in regards to decision making, with your choice of companies making a much greater impact on both the overworld and RTS portions of the game. Units are more responsive, the loyalty system has been overhauled, and there are 8 new campaign skirmish maps that will keep things more varied. Overall, this is a massive W for campaign enjoyers, and if you've been waiting to play it, or replay it if you haven't touched it since launch, now is the time. Like every update, there's been a massive balance pass and the addition of new maps, most of which are fan favourites from Company of Heroes 1 and 2, which is nice to see. By this point, Relic has addressed nearly all of the initial complaints with Company of Heroes 3. Leaderboards are in the game, you can explore the map after the game ends, text chat is a thing, why is that something we needed to ask for? Challenges don't need manual claiming anymore, thank God, and unfortunately they still haven't been able to figure out how to enable more than 2 tuning packs at once in regards to mods. Maybe it's an engine limitation, maybe they just don't want to, who knows. And alongside the 2.0 update was one other thing, the biggest DLC for the game yet, the aforementioned Fire and Steel. This is the second expansion following the poorly received Hammer and Shield, and it brings 4 new battle groups, 1 for each faction, and 2 of which could be claimed for free for a time. All of these battle groups are focused on heavy armor, with each including 1 super heavy tank brand new to Company of Heroes 3, like the King Tiger and M26 Pershing. From the US forces there is the Heavy Weapons battle group, who focus on heavy infantry firepower and off-map artillery batteries to command dominance before the heavy armor arrives to end the battle for good, ideally. The Wehrmacht get the Terror battle group, who focus on airstrikes and suppression tactics, while fielding massive firepower via the V1 rocket and King Tiger. The British forces get the Canadian Shock battle group, with a focus on momentum and aggressive tactics, and a particular penchant for incendiary weapons, such as the classic Churchill Crocodile. Very cool, average Commonwealth W. And finally, the Afrika Corps receive the Panzerjäger Command battle group, who can lock down areas with powerful defensive weapons and tactics, utilising units like the new Elephant tank destroyer to wipe out enemy armor of any size. Priced at $24.99 US, Fire and Steel is a little more expensive than before, but it includes a significant offering of content, and I think that's a fair price. And the Steam reviews reflect that. Relic's first significant expansion to Company of Heroes 3 is nothing short of a solid win for them, and I hope they can deliver more like this in the future. In the last few days, Relic have also released Stealth and Stronghold, a DLC that includes the 2 battle groups that had been available for free since Update 1.6 about a year ago. If you've missed out on claiming them in that period, then this paid DLC is how you can get them in your roster. I do commend Relic for giving them out for free in the first place, but I also think it stings a bit if you missed out and are now being asked to pay for the privilege. It is cheaper than the 2 previous battle group DLCs though, and it was available for free for like a year, so it's hard to complain that much. The battle groups themselves are both fun additions and make me personally hopeful as we draw ever closer to a New Zealand focused Commonwealth battle group. I mean, we've got India, Canada, and now Australia. It's gotta be possible, right? The Aussies from the British forces get brand new units in their light infantry section, and unique reverse firing archer tank destroyer, which unfortunately is not unique or reverse firing in Company of Heroes 3, and are focused on versatile defensive emplacements and hard-hitting assaults. The Afrika Corps get the other new addition with their Battlefield Espionage battle group, who serve a unique role with a focus on stealth and subterfuge. They receive a non-combat wagon that provides intel and can deploy anti-infantry and anti-vehicle mines, and the Goliath can sit camouflaged until the perfect moment where it detonates its significantly large payload to devastate any enemies who are too close. These factions have been in the game for a while now, but I'm glad Relic are trying new things here and exploring further reaches of the factions of World War II. Last week, Relic released their roadmap for the next year or so of COH3, so let's run through that before we bring this one home. A lot of it is your expected stuff: balance changes, new maps, community events, and cosmetics, but the big one is patch 2.2 in the fall, which is poised to include what they're calling Unit Distinction 3.0, this intriguing redacted feature, and 4 new battle groups. And I'd put money on these being from 2 entirely new factions or theatres of war. Perhaps we can finally get Company of Heroes in the Pacific, maybe a lesser represented conflict, like the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union. I really do hope they push the boat out with this one, as Company of Heroes 3 deserves a drastic and exciting new foray into World War II compared to its predecessors, as despite its inclusion of factions like Italy and India, as well as the North African Front, Company of Heroes 3 has largely felt like a modern retreading of things we've already seen. I think Relic deserves a pat on the back for how they've handled the years following Company of Heroes 3's release, but also a firm talking to about some of their methods and how they can best approach the future of the game, which they are clearly committed to. As a newly independent studio, this is their flagship series and currently most popular game. It needs to continue to succeed for Relic to have a bright future going forward. I love what they've been doing with free updates and patches over these past 2 years. Relic have improved the game significantly since release, to the point where I think now Company of Heroes 3 is the game that we were all hoping it would be when it came out in 2023. There's a ton of content to be enjoyed, whether you're a campaign enjoyer or multiplayer skirmisher. The factions and battle groups are in-depth and expansive, and the presentation is now in line and, in my opinion, superior to its predecessors. Which means we can all start getting excited about the future and what might be on the horizon. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, then consider dropping a like and a sub. It means a lot and it supports what I do here massively. Thanks to my patrons and YouTube members who keep the lights on here. That's Takayo, Bad Ghosts, Sean, Grey Spirit 4, George, King Thickums, Pavel, Bram, Christian, Dan, Orion, and Disrifkin, and my paladins, Johnny, Marika, Age of Cause, Tank, and Empyrean. Thanks so much guys, and I'll see you in the next one.